we are in. Right, first one of these. Instead of actually writing a diary, I'm going to try and do a quick weekly summary, mostly for myself and for anyone who's interested. So, week 1, USA. Before I even get to USA, we had some absolute fun at the airport in London when they wouldn't let us check onto the plane because apparently with the US visa, you have to be able to prove that you're leaving not just America but the next country as well. And we were flying to Cuba, that doesn't count. From Cuba going to Mexico, that doesn't count, which left me and Rich struggling around on our phones, stressing out at Gatwick Airport, ultimately buying a flight from Mexico to Guatemala for the end of November at a cool 120 quid each, just so they would let us onto the Norwegian air flight to Miami. So that was our first idiot tax, nearly £250 each, just to even leave the country, so that was fun. Other than that, flight was alright, and landed in Miami. Got to the hostel at 1 in the morning, so the next day kind of cruised around, had a good time, saw the beach, did a massive bike cycle around Miami, all around South Beach, which was really cool. Our hostel was randomly next to the World Museum of Erotic Art, which was eye-opening. I've got some pictures there. Message me personally if you'd like to see them. There's one of Rich sitting on the world's largest penis. So yeah, that was good in Miami. After that, we went to New Orleans. That was great. We were staying there for 5 nights. We actually ended up having to change our flights to Cuba from there because we realised that we can't fly to Cuba from America, even though we'd booked the flights. Our visa wouldn't let us, so we had an extra day in New Orleans. New Orleans is a crazy town. I mean, mostly it was just going out on Bourbon Street. We went on a really cool cemetery tour. There's some really cool cemeteries in New Orleans. Hurricane Nate was flying in, and there was a curfew across the whole town from 6 p.m. Everyone was geared up for it. We were having a big party at the hostel. It was actually quite exciting, in a weird way. And then what happened was that, like, at the very last minute, at like 7 p.m, the hurricane took like a sharp left turn and went the other direction. So it was actually a lovely warm evening, which is kind of weird. The whole city was on lockdown. But that was cool. A couple of other stories that are probably not right for this blog in in New Orleans. And then we flew from New Orleans we flew to Cancun for 1 night. We had to stay there for 1 night, so we technically went to Mexico, but not really. We just stayed in a hostel, and then the next day we flew to Cuba. So that'll be week 2. I've tried to do this as quick as possible. Be interested to see how that much is. Yeah, sweet. See you soon. Mwah.